thanks for watching or listening to episode 83 of VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell podcast. That's just to let you know, this will be our last one before a summer break. Woody's got no more shows coming up. He's off all over the place, sunning himself. I'm actually coming home to do some work for once. I've been on my travels for a month, but, you know, Woody's the lucky one. John Evans just stays at home in Oldham because he's the busy one out of a lot of us, apart from Woody. I'm certainly not that busy. I would have been out here for so long. But there you go. If you can leave us a review on YouTube, great. And even more important, if you could sign up and subscribe to VIP Boxing's YouTube, even better. There's loads of content on there, and that'll be updated regularly during the summer with different interviews. Anyway, I'm Steve Lillis. You know my co-host, John Evans. And today, before we take a break, only one man we could have on. It's the head of VIP, Phil Taylor. Steve Wood. Yeah. Steve, tell us what's happening in VIP land before we kick off.
Listen, it's been good today. I've seen all the boxing tweets and everything going on, people looking for opponents and stressing out for the show on Saturday. We did our last one on Saturday night and no more till September the 10th now. So I feel the pain for all the others, but it's relaxed now and getting on with being the engineering salesman for the next 6 weeks.
6 weeks up from what I heard, a rumour you're spending more time on a boat than your mate Frank Joseph does in Spain, mate, for the next 6 weeks. That's the rumour, Steve, anyway. Yeah, in boxing, anyway. But boxing rumours do spiral out of control.
Well, let's hope I do anyway, because I'm chilling out, I'm relaxing, and boxing's taking a back seat for a while, mate, yeah.
Well, we've noticed he's changed his backdrop, Steve, to make people think he actually does a little bit during the day.
He's got his nuts and bolts there, isn't he?
He's got his valves behind him, Steve.
I've had to come up here because it's the only cool place in the building. So, I'm sound. I'm in the conference room here now.
Yeah, well, that's where the real work takes place, Steve. But no, it's good for you to come on tonight, mate. And, we look forward to what you've got forward for us, Ward. What can we look forward to in the new season?
Yeah, well, September the 10th, the first one, which is a show at Blackpool and big 10-fight card, good top of the bill. 4 local kids from Blackpool. Rematch with Owen Kirk against Jake Bray, who beat him last time.
Good one.
Debut of Roman Fury. So great first card, a lot of interest in that one. The 17th, we're going back to Bolton, where we was the other night. Got some title fights and some good VIPs against VIPs, and that'll be a belter. Got a tournament where we're going to put some of our lads together as well, and then Liverpool on the 24th. Then in October we go to Doncaster, which hopefully will be the first of a televised series that we're going to be doing as well. Just waiting for clarification on that one, but we're cracking on with it all, Steve. So we're going to be busier than ever, but we're going to do less shows, more quality, mate.
Have you signed Roman Fury?
He's not with me. He's with my good pal Jimmy Addington.
Well, right. So I know Jimmy helped you with the Doncaster shows and trains.
Yeah, I'm doing shows with Jimmy in Doncaster. He's asked me if you can put him on as a favour, but makes sense, doesn't it? You know, with the Fury family all being from Markham round the corner, yeah.
Anything to add, John, or do you?
No, I think he's capped it all off there. I know there's a few things in the pipeline for the end of the year, and I saw something Steve put out the other week, said if the fighters are good enough, now it's showcasing them and letting them prove it, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah. So I've got a few to announce. I'll tell you off the camera, but there's some belters happening, mate. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. You tell us off the camera, but you know how this works, Steve. You've been on here more than anybody. 3 minutes, the bell goes, and John, are you ready to start round 1 this week?
Yeah, ready to go whenever you are.
And it's going to be yourself, Woody, and the man we spoke about on the phone yesterday, Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, I mean, when you sent me a list through what you was talking about, which was the Tik Tok boxers, which I know we're going to do next. I was hoping we was going to do it first and this would fall into it. But no, I'm a big fan of Ryan Garcia. And obviously, they call him the pretty boy and they reckon that he's like a TikTok boxer because he's got 8.9 million followers on Instagram. But obviously, on Saturday, he had that fantastic stoppage of Javier Fortuna, who's a good fighter and only been stopped once before. I think that's another case to cementing that he is the real deal and he's a proper fighter. He's only 23, 23-0, 19 knockouts. You know, I think last time we was on, we were saying that fights to watch him and the Tank would be one. Again, we was going to talk about promoters not making things. Is it not going to happen because he's with Golden Boy, the Tank's with BBC or whatever they're called, and you know he's the real deal for me. I just wondered if you two are getting in on the hype now, or are you still doubters?
No, I think John's always behind it. I've been on that, but you know what? I'll go on to John because he knows a lot more about. He's studied Garcia more than me, and I know bits, but plenty about him, and John really does. It's how big he looked the other night. In that 3 years, he's gone from 130 to looking like a 140-pound fighter. And I think that Tank fight's got to happen quick, or he could grow even further. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think we're going to miss that one.
Yeah,
I think
I do.
The way Tank's managed, will look after him and drag it out for that long that Garcia will just be too big. I like Garcia. He made me a believer properly when he beat Luke Campbell when he got up off the floor, because Luke Campbell's good. He's underrated. And to get up off the floor and stop Campbell, that was big. We just don't see him enough, do we? I know we had the problems outside the ring, but very much like Tank and like Haney and stuff, we just don't fight often enough. We don't know how good they're going to be. But he's right in that mix, isn't he? You know, you could make any fight of those top lightweights or light welterweights now, if you want to call it that, and put Garcia in, and he's not going to be shown up as he's right in the mix of them all.
I think super lightweight's going to be his division. You look now, you've got Josh Taylor there, but Jack Catro, Regis Prograis, Jose Zepeda, you know, Carlos Ramirez. He'd have a big chance against all of them. Or why not fight Sandor Martin, the man that beat Mikey Garcia, who's about 41 and whatever, who's got a fantastic record. There's so much room in that division. I agree with you, John. I think we've missed the Tank fight.
Yeah. Mikey Garcia against Ryan Garcia, that's a typical fight, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, there's so much room at either way. I just think he's growing and growing by each fight. And, you know, the way he's grown over the last 2-3 years, John, just shows how far he could end up a welterweight in 2-3 years. I'm sure he will be fighting that way.
Yeah, listen, he punches so quick and hard, he's going to be an handful for anyone.
Round two, these TikTokers who boxed Saturday night. I didn't know a lot about it. I knew there was some model girl who had been working with Mark Tibbs on it, or I don't know what, Ellie. So I'd never heard of her till last week. I had to look her up to know.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I did look her up. Yeah, and then, you know, I saw she's in Mark with Mark Tibbs, and on Saturday night I was watching the boxing here, and on my Twitter feed there was more people talking about these TikTokers. There was many people, and there was clips of it coming up, and I was absolutely horrified by what I saw. You saw a 51-year-old man get knocked out by a young kid he had a feud with. The young kid had accused him of, you know, of a few things when he collaborated with a younger TikTok. I mean, what the fuck a 51-year-old man's doing on TikTok? I don't know. And, you know, there was one guy that was about 4 stone getting beaten in 48 seconds. That was absolutely horrific. And anyone involved in that who cares for boxing should be ashamed, because this isn't like Jake Paul TikTok or, you know, someone who's got 9.7 million followers who's actually a brilliant fighter. These were people who couldn't even hold their own in an amateur gym. And this sort of stuff is where someone's going to get hurt. Whoever thought to put a 51-year-old in with a young kid needs stringing up. Horrific. I'm sure you two agree. I just wanted to get it right off my chest tonight, really.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm sure John is like me, he completely agrees with what you're saying. But what annoys me is obviously the likes of IFL and Boxing Social are working on it, and it just shows you what it all is now. It's about getting numbers and views and things like that. And to be honest with you, the pure boxing fans like us are getting lost, and we're getting overtaken. And, you know, people that you would never expect to do things that involve these sort of low standards are doing it because it makes money. And to me, people have got to start looking at themselves and starting to think to themselves, you know, we're better than this, and rise above it. This has got to be washed out so that nobody's watching it. But it's not going to happen. It's just going to carry on because there's a market for it, and that's a shame.
What's the deal with people being involved in the corners in things like this? Because I thought at one point there was a rule where if you were a pro trainer, you weren't allowed to work in a white collar way. You weren't allowed to be in the corner and stuff. But there's pros involved in that. But the kid who the ginger kid who had just been taught to hold his hands up like this and he got flattened, I've got to be honest, it made me laugh. But maybe that'll put people off being involved in it, because that kid couldn't fight. He found himself in an horrendous situation and he got blasted, didn't he, and didn't want to know.
I'm guessing that the guys who have full licenses who work with fighters weren't in the corners. They were just nearby. It happens in unlicensed all that we see that. Round 3, over to you, John, about what makes too much sense in boxing that we're not going to see.
Yeah, well, I was looking through Twitter the other day and I saw that the under instructions to make Bivol against Zerdo, isn't it? And I thought, well, the perfect fight to make now is Buatsi and Callum Smith. But it's not going to happen. It makes too much sense. So my brain started wondering about things that would actually do the sport a world of good, but will never happen in a million years. Can you imagine in April and September, all the big promoters each match all the fighters? They make 2 massive pay-per-view shows. Wembley Stadium in April, Old Trafford in September, and you've got Buatsi against Yard. You've got, I'm plucking names off the top of the head, straight from the bottom of the card to the top, Heffron against Chelly. And all the promoters match all the fighters and make 2 massive pay-per-view shows. It'd shut all us up about the promoters not matching each other. It'd be enormous events for the sport. It'd smash the pay-per-view. The fighters would get paid. It'd help all the fighters develop. But it'll never happen. It makes too much sense. So I was just thinking of other things that'd help the sport that will just never happen.
I had 2 things. One thing that will never happen is more promoters getting TV chances, because you might see better undercards than what we're getting at the moment. There's people out there, promoters, who like Carl Greaves, Woody, Steve Goodwin. They know more than a lot of the promoters who got TV deals. They've forgotten more than they know. I'd like to see that spread out. Never going to happen, because these guys are so protective. And you see the undercard the other night at BT was okay, and we were sort of relieved to get a half decent one. And then it still wasn't brilliant. It was okay. The other thing is something Eddie Hearn touched on. His row with McCauley, where he said he got into number 1 with a WBO without fighting any world-class fighters. If you get to number 1, we should have a proper eliminators to get there. But it's never going to happen, because it's too much money at stake. Steve?
Yeah, listen, I'm just picking up on what John's first point was that Callum Smith v. Buatsi. But they're with the same promoters. So, it makes sense to happen. That should happen. The problems are when they're with different promoters. If we're the same promoters, there's no reason why that fight can't happen. And, is Callum Smith's earned enough money, you know what I mean? So it's like he shouldn't worry about fighting Buatsi, because if he loses, he's obviously not what he was, and he won't have to work when he retires. He's got enough money behind him. For Buatsi, if he fights Callum Smith and he wins, great, he moves on. If he loses, he's lost to a world-class fighter, and he can learn from it and come back. So it's mad. When you can't make them in your own stables, you've got a problem. With the other stables, going back to the Tank one there and Garcia, they're with different promoters, doesn't make sense. But I'm agree with John. It'd be lovely to see a big pay-per-view with everyone splitting the money, because there'd be plenty there to share.
Oh, it'd be great.
Round 4, something we spoke about last week, but let's get your take on it, Steve. Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr.
Oh, right. I didn't realise you spoke about that one last week, because it was only come out to my attention about Thursday last week. So, again, you could have put this under, does it make sense? Because it doesn't make sense to me. I get it, and I do get it, because they'll both make a lot of money out of it, and that's one of the reasons why they're in the sport. But I don't get why you spend so much time building a kid up at welterweight to then go and put him in with a middleweight. They're going to try and get down to half a middleweight, aren't they? Between middle and middle, if the truth's be known, that's what they're trying to do. So that's the only chance that Ben's got of winning, is that he's trained and not strong on the way. Otherwise, it's a shoo-in. But again, if you spoke about it last week, I do apologise, but I'm presuming you're along the same lines, guys.
John virtually said word for word what you said, Steve. I was a bit more, I think Eubank wins. I was a bit more defensive of the fight, because I think it's a brilliant occasion, and I can't wait for the build-up. But
I've watched it. I've been thinking about this a bit more, because I've seen people saying Ben's got nothing to lose. If he loses, he's lost to a middleweight. But the rivalry and the names, Ben Eubank, I think he has got a lot to lose if it goes wrong. You know, he's not fighting a world-class middleweight who they can say, oh, you know, he was too big and too good like Brook and Golovkin. This isn't that. This is Chris Eubank, who might be a top 10 middleweight, might be top 20. But it's that rivalry. You know, Eubank, Ben, if he gets done badly by Eubank, you can't just brush it off and blame it on the weight. It'll have a lasting effect, I think. Absolutely.
You know what? It's pride. When you walk down the street, like people like yourself, John and Steve, you saw me and thought, well, we lost to the bigger man, blah, blah, blah. To man in the street, they're not selling that fight to the boxing casual. They're selling that to the man in the street, the older man who went to the first fight and watched that. Yeah. They'll see Conor Benn down the street, walking down the street in Brentwood, and they'll say, as Nigel Benn's son got smashed to bits by Chris Eubank. They won't be thinking of the weight difference. There's a hell of a lot to him to lose when it comes to pride. It won't hurt you, but you know, and you have to be a Conor speak how proud he is. But what has surprised me is the number of people who are tipping Conor Benn to win. There's a lot of people who seem to fancy him, which, you know, hey, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm quite shocked at that.
They're all basing it on weight, aren't they, though?
Yeah, that's all you can base it on. Steve?
Is that 3 minutes up, boys, or are we still going?
Yeah, we got 10 seconds.
Okay. Round 5, Mark Efron. Obviously, I'll be really quick because John knows Mark better than me. Steve's worked with him. I just thought the other night, when he turned pro in 2010 with Gary Hyde, he was knocking out everybody, or he knocked out most of them first 14 or 15 fighters pretty quickly. Hello?
Yeah.
Sorry, he lost me there. He knocked out those first 14 or 15 fighters pretty quickly. The build around him, especially around Manchester, was could he be the man who replaced Hatton? The fact it took him 12 years to win a title is astounding me. But he's got there now, and I just think Frank Warren and Kevin Murray have just got to push on with him now and take whatever's out there, big fights for him. You can't hold him back or say we'll keep him busy on the domestic circuit. I think he's done really well. Look, you know, credit to Joe Gallagher the other night, who he's gone to. I remember he had a shocker against Liam Williams, his performance, and he was second best in the Bentley fight. I remember one of Josh Warrington's undercard, I think, was it the fight after Williams? He looked terrible over 6 rounds, but all credit to him. I thought he was tremendous the other night. And forget, it was slightly too early, the stoppage. A stoppage is never slightly too early. It's either too early or correct. I thought the stoppage was right.
Listen, you say like 12 years, you've got to give him fair play to
absolutely.
Sticking at it. And it's been a funny one. I mean, he's had more stiffs and the morgue round the back of it, hasn't he? You know, let's have it right. He's not for anyone that they thought he wasn't going to beat, but Liam Williams and Bentley, the two he wasn't going to beat him, but he's come back. He's stuck at it for 12 years, and I know him personally. He's improved as a person as well. And you know, to me, that was as big as the improvement on that is as big as the boxing for him. He's a miles better person than he was. He's just gone and won a title now. I mean, he's took 12 years to do it. Sometimes I was thinking he's fought that many stiffs that by the time he got in the big fights, he wasn't ready for it. But you know. It's like, how long do you need? Some people need longer than others. And I think mentally he might have been a bit weaker and they've worked on that and he's come through, you know, like trainers as well. He's probably had more trainers than JD Sports, you know, but you've got to give him props. And as I say, he's a lot nicer person now than he was. And I'm friendly with his dad, and it was great to hear him giving his dad a little bit of a shout out on the night and he's won. And I was made up for him.
Yeah, he's all right now, Mark, isn't he? I think Rebecca and his daughter Poppy, I think they've changed him a lot, haven't they? But I just think he's the definition of a confidence fighter, Mark. If he gets a little doubt in his mind, I don't think it goes well for him. But he hurt Clark early, and that was it then. You just saw his confidence rise. Clark was never going to put a dent in him, really, I don't think. And Clark's a tough bastard as well. But really pleased for Mark there. I don't know what they're going to do with him. He could sell a bundle of tickets making a defence at Boundary Park, couldn't he? But I think I saw Joe doing an interview saying he wants to push on to people like Rosado.
Definitely. So got to push on. Final round, John. Not a very good topic you come up with. I thought this: the British Super Bantams and Feathers.
Yeah, let me get my list here because there's so many of them, isn't there?
Yeah,
they're all on BT as well. So going back to what Steve said, if you can't make fights in your own stable, you've got a problem. But I think Frank is going to match these Super Bantams and Feathers. So we've got Dennis McCann, who I thought looked pretty good on Saturday night. Liam Davis, British champion. You got Jason Cunningham, the veteran. You've got Andrew Kane, the puncher. Nick Ball, a little wrecking ball at featherweight. And the Piranha, Ryan Garner. All those fighters are all within £4. None of them are going up to super feather. Maybe Garner might be pushing it a little bit. But we're all set at that weight now for 2 years. Every one of those kids has got a great style to watch. They all want to fight each other. I think we could be set for a little, tremendous little era here of super bantamweights and featherweights if you all mix it up. And whoever comes through that will be ready for the next level. It's a great mix.
I'll tell you what, it isn't just who Frank's got their BTs. There's no excuses for them not to fight. But you've got Jordan Gill, Nathaniel Collins, the really tricky southpaw, who Frank's won the purse bid for his fight against Ball. Against Ball. That's a good fight. You got the older statesman, Gamal Yafai. Don't write off Mark Leach, Shabazz Masood. You've got Hopi Price, who's up and coming. It's absolutely
Hopi Price. Yeah, I've missed Hopi Price.
It's absolutely nuts. And Jack Bateson's now about 15, 16 and 0. That division, them two divisions, they're within £4. That is a brilliant domestic scene where 2 or 3 of them are going to go on, I'm sure, and fight for world titles.
Yeah, and you know what, lads? You're railing them off for fun. I made a list before there, and I think the one you mentioned, that Nick Collins and Nick Ball, their styles are made to make a good fight. And it'll be intriguing to watch that one, whether it's like the gung-ho Nick Ball going forward or the slick skills of Nathan Collins wins that. But that's been made and that's going to happen. So that's one to look forward to. But I think obviously you've got Lee Wood and Josh Waddington who's above these lot. But Jazza Dickens has probably fell down into that mix there. And Thomas Ward had another win last night. Yeah. And
Thomas Patrick.
Lee Wood. Yeah, it's in Galahad. Well, Galahad's lightweight now.
Galahad's lightweight, and you ignore Josh and Lee.
Yeah. And then also there's another good kid who I've seen when I've been down in London called Louis Lynn. And
Louis Lynn.
He's with Frank Warren. So, one of the things that I'm going to do is put some of my lads in a tournament where they fight each other in 6 rounds and then go to 8 rounds. And obviously these kids are a bit more advanced than them, but why not eliminators and titles and just get them on? And you're looking 3 fights in advance, then, aren't you? You know what's for the winner. It'd be absolutely fantastic. And if you could mix them with other promoters, even better. But you say Frank Warren and Queensbury's there has probably got 8 good kids around those weights, and everybody will tune in. And that's what we need to be doing. Like Steve mentioned, the undercards and things. But some of the top of the bills have been horrendous as well, haven't they? So if you could put those and say, right, they're going to be on our next few shows, you get everyone excited again. And that's what you want. I've seen it myself. The crowds are dropping at the moment, and it's not just at boxing; it's everything. All the music venues. I've been speaking to the event managers at places, and they're all 20-30% down. And boxing will go down more as the money gets tighter. They're putting crap on. So this is the right time to put these on, and there's no excuses.
There's something that makes too much sense. It'll never happen.
That never happen.
Get all of the top guys on BT Sport, do a big press conference with all 8 of the super bantams and featherweights, and start announcing fights and make them personalities. Get them publicity. Do a full show of just these guys.
Yeah, and put them in a draw so they all go and pick the name.
When the new season comes, it won't happen, but to get bums on seats, and are we going to get to the stage where it's like America, where promoters just have to think, well, what TV money we get? We're not going to sell tickets because, the cost of living crisis, and when the fuel bills or the energy bills, should I say, go up again in October, it's going to kill people even more. And so I don't know what, concerts are doing. I go to a lot of gigs and they're just not doing the tickets they did. I know a band like, Kasabian, for example, boxing to be comparable, or a major headline festivals, Nebworth, they did with Liam Gallagher, headline the Isle of Wight Festival. They're doing the arena in October. They're only taking the lower bowl, and that's one of the biggest bands there are. So that shows, and boxing's going to be the same.
Mm. Especially when there's so many shows to pick and choose from as well.
Yeah. And so much of it on TV as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much for it. All right then, fellas. thanks for coming on this week, Woody. Enjoy your summer break, Woody. John, thanks as always. You enjoy your week's break. I know you're working all the way through, John. You don't have time off, mate.
Don't have days off, me.
You don't have days off, mate. I've had a month off, so.
He's earning some till him, Steve. If he had his money, I'd throw mine away.
Last holiday I have, Steve, was New Orleans. How about that?
Yeah, you told me that. You need to get to
Flanagan
America again soon, mate. But you know
that was like 5 holidays rolled into one, though, wasn't it?
I needed.
I'll tell you what, fellas. Thanks, John, for coming on and helping me out, mate, the last few months. And I look forward to speaking to you again in August. And Woody, I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. And everyone else who's tuned in to this 83rd episode with 17 off a ton. Thanks very much, and we'll see you all in August.
But here's an idea, Steve, just before we go. See if people latch onto this. Why don't you start doing live bell-to-bells around my gyms? Get all the lads from my gyms and do it live.
It could do, yeah. I think
be a good idea to get all the lads at, say, a VIP gym all sat around together, put 3 minutes on, have them debating, or everyone at Rob Rimmer's and stuff like that. And I think we could get some good stuff on that.
Set that up, do you reckon, Woodster?
Yeah, I think we could do that. Yeah.
Is it a different format? That's right. People are sick in hearing our voice. Let's get the boxers' voices on.
Yeah. I'll get Hogan to film them, but tell him he can't talk.
Thanks very much indeed, fellas. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
For all boxing info, news, and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.